Hey everybody, welcome to video number 19 in the UE5 Vehicle tutorial series. This video is about creating a car selection menu, because that's been a very requested feature on the Discord server. So this video will create a very basic one that we can improve onto in future videos. And by basic I mean you'll have just a menu with few icons that you can click to spawn in the map with different vehicles. As you can see, we have a few here in the project, so those are the ones that will be allowing the player to select. Now the very first thing you want to do, if you don't already have a game instance, you're going to want to go ahead and create one. So create a new blueprint class, search game instance, that's the one, and we'll call it about BP Vehicle GI for game instance. Now that you've created that, you need to go edit project settings, and you need to apply it to your project, which is here in the project maps and nodes. Scroll at the very bottom here, game instance class, you want to select the one you just created, so BP Vehicle GI. And let's open it right away. Create a new variable in it. We'll call it selected vehicle class. And for the variable type, we will be setting it to be a pawn. So right here, pawn, but we want it to be a class reference and not an object reference, like we do most of the time. If you compile and save that, you see now in the game instance we have a variable that we can use to go select a car class. So that could be Porsche 911, Nissan Skyline, which is the one I'm going to select by default right now. Compile and save that. And then in your game mode, which you can see here, I'm using the vehicle game mode that we've created in a previous video. If you don't have it, just create an empty game mode just for the purpose of that. And here in the game mode, you are going to want to empty out the default pawn class. Just make sure it is actually cleared, so there's nothing in here. Then go over in the construction script, right click and type in game instance to get a reference to the game instance that's being used. You will want to cast it to the game instance class you've created so you can access the variable in it. So cast to BP Vehicle GI. And now from that you can access the selected vehicle class variable that we've just created. And then you are going to want to set default pawn class. And you're going to set that to the selected vehicle class. Now it's important you do that in the construction script, because that is executed before begin play. And now if we go ahead and test it, as you can see here we only have a player start. If we go ahead and play, you can see we're spawning in the Nissan. If I go ahead and reopen the game instance and select something else, let's go ahead and select the Supra, for example. Now I'm spawning in the Supra. So that's the bare bone of it, really. And so now we have a variable here that we can change that will affect which car we spawn into the map with. And all we need to do now is to create a little menu to allow the player to change that variable from the menu with, you know, nice little thumbnails, pictures of the available cars that you can choose from and whatnot. So let's do that. First of all, to create a menu, you'll need a new map and game mode, and also a menu widget. Let's go ahead in here and go into the maps folder, create a new level, which we're going to call menu_map. You can open it right away and basically just leave it blank, because we're not going to see anything in here. We'll just put a background picture in the menu widget for now. Then let's go back into the content here, where we have our vehicle game mode, and create a new game mode. And we're going to call this one menu_game mode, just so the name is consistent with the other game mode, in case we need to search for these. And yeah, that is pretty much it. Now it's important to have a different game mode for the menu in case you have lots of things implemented into your vehicle game mode for the racing and whatnot. Let's see here if I actually have anything. I don't yet, but eventually you'll have a lot of stuff into the game mode for the racing, and so you want to have a different one for the main menu. That's basically empty. So let's save it, our empty game mode. Let's go ahead here and make sure the world override is set to our menu game mode. And in the menu game mode, you can create the widget for the main menu. So let's go here into the UI folder. Actually, do I have a widget folder? Nope, just the UI. Okay, perfect. Let's go ahead here and user interface, widget blueprint. User widget is the class you want to derive it from. I don't believe I've ever used another class really for my my widgets. So let's call that one UMG main menu. Again, putting UMG as a prefix to be consistent with all of the widgets I'm creating. Add a canvas panel, just so you have an area to work with. Then let's go ahead and add a background image. Select the anchor here to take up the whole space, as you can see from the 4 little arrows here. Set the offsets to 0, so it takes up the whole screen. Let's just test it right away. Make sure everything is working. So you're going to want to go back here into your game mode, which was the menu game mode. Go into event graph, begin play. You're going to want to create that widget, which was UMG main menu. See, very important to give him consistent names. Now, owning player here doesn't matter, because we're running this in single player, so that's always going to be the local player. Now what you want to do once you've created the widget is you want to add to viewport. If you're doing a local multiplayer or a split screen kind of game, you're going to want to add it to player screen, but let's not worry about that. And then I suppose we should get the controller. Oh, typo. Yeah, GT is not get. So get player controller here. for the index 0, which is the local player. Set input mode UI only. And here in the widget to focus, we'll select our menu widget that we've created here. And then we want to show the mouse cursor so the player can click on things. So set show mouse cursor, we'll set it to true. I'm clicking a lot because I bought me a new mouse and it's super sensitive, and I often click like not on the line because it's just moving too quickly. And now with that done, whenever we start playing that map, we should just get a white screen with a mouse cursor on it, which is good. That's what we want. Well, not really, but I mean that's what we've done so far. So I don't actually have an image. I didn't bother creating one, but if you do, you can set it here. There, perfect. Let's go ahead and create a button. We'll anchor it to the bottom center. Make sure the X alignment is set to 1 and the Y alignment also, because we want it to the left of the center of the screen. And how about something like this? We'll put a text in it. See here, you can drag it directly on the button and then set the button to size to content. And we'll set that text to quit game. Really simple. And we'll give it a name again. Button quit. And you can scroll down in the list here with it selected, and you have events. We'll go ahead and add an event on unclicked, which is going to be quit game. Again, specific player doesn't matter because we're doing this in single player, so there is only one player. And again, if we play that, you can see your background and your quit game button is working. I find that important because when you're playing an editor, you can just press escape. But as soon as you package your game, that doesn't work anymore, and so you're gonna find yourself having to Alt F4 your game, which is not really professional if you're going to have some testers. The other thing we want to do is add another button to start playing. So let's go ahead and just duplicate it in case you've made some changes, you know, cosmetic wise, to its shape, its color, and whatnot. You don't want to have to redo that every time, so you're just going to right click it and duplicate. Now you can see the text followed. This one, again, I believe it was -50, and this one we want to place to the right of the center of the screen, so the X alignment will set back to 0. Actually, I know none of this matters, but I still want to make it sort of kind of pretty. So -50 and 50. And this one, the text is actually going to be something we're going to change at runtime, and you'll see why later. Select the vehicle to spawn with, and whenever you click a vehicle thumbnail in here and select it, the text is going to change to spawn in the world, for example. And for that to be possible, you need that text block here to be a variable, so you can access it from the graph. And we'll call it text block underscore play button. And again, button quit here should be button play, I guess. And we'll create an event for it as well. Now the button play, the only thing it's going to do is it's going to open the level. Now I like to do open level by object reference, because if you open level, I'll show you why actually, open level by name, now you have to input the name of your level, but the thing is that level isn't referenced anywhere, and so it won't get packaged when you package your game. And so you have to go into the project settings and add it to the list, which can be pretty tedious. Yeah, package map here, list of maps to include in packaged build. You're gonna have to add your map in here because it's not referenced anywhere, and by default when you're packaging your project, any asset that isn't used isn't included in the package. And so using here the open level by object reference fixes that, because now that level is referenced somewhere, and so it will be included in the build. And that's all you gotta do for the play button. Let's try it right now. Select the vehicle to spawn with, spawns us in the map, and now as you can see, you can't control anything. That is perfectly normal. That is because before you open the level, you want to get player controller, show mouse cursor to false to remove the mouse cursor. And then you want to set the input mode to game only. And then open the level. And now you have control of the car. Now this is where this gets a bit tricky, because well, first of all, we need thumbnails for all of our vehicles. So let's go back in the map here in Playground. I'll show you a quick dirty way of creating thumbnails that I like. Let's go here into the vehicles. Actually, hit the little plus here, place actor panel. I like to leave that open all the time. I don't seem to find a skeletal mesh in here. Okay, never mind that then. Just grab yourself a skeletal mesh, put it in here, and now you can set that to any car. Position it. Add here a scene capture. Scene capture 2D. Right click it and pilot or Control Shift P. Now you can position that scene capture. I like that point of view. and then right click again here and stop piloting. And then you need a texture, and that will be a render target. Now the name isn't important because we'll delete that one after we're done generating the thumbnails. Let's set a size. I want a 16:9 aspect ratio for the buttons because that's the aspect ratio of my screen. Although that's a bit big for thumbnails. So let's 960 by that's a better size. You can see here zoom 100%. So that's the size of the thumbnail. But we're gonna pretty much make it that size on the screen in the menu. So go ahead here on your scene capture, select that one. Make sure here scene color isn't really pretty. I'll show you what it looks like right now. That's just not good enough. So from capture source here, let's final color with tone curve. Yep, the last one in the list here. Now to refresh that, you'll just clear it and click it again. And now you can see we've got a pretty nice thumbnail for the Porsche. I would like it to be a little closer and not have that text in the background. So I'll just spend a couple seconds here. Again, pilot. Yeah, I think that's good. Okay, and now we have a thumbnail for the Porsche. Go back to the content browser. You can right click your render target and create static texture. We'll call it thumbnail underscore Porsche 911. And we'll repeat the process for every vehicle you want to be able to display in the menu. Let's go ahead here and do the why not the Nissan Skyline? Yeah, I'm still piloting. Okay, apparently I can't move the scene capture anymore. That's just weird. Apparently I can't move anything anymore. What is happening? Okay, right mouse button doesn't work anymore. I can't move the view. Thank you, Unreal Engine. Okay, well, I guess we'll just have to roll with it. This is our thumbnail for the Nissan. I don't actually like it so much. That's better. Alright, that'll do. Again, content browser, right click your render target, create static texture, F2 for a rename, in case double clicking doesn't work. And let's do a third one. I'm not going to do all of them on camera. Okay, what is going on? Let's go ahead and do the Savannah. And now I can't move it with the damn. Normally this is when I would restart the editor to get rid of that bug, because it seems to be getting worse and worse. But I'm recording this. And if I pause the video, I'll have to run it in the video editor, and it'll take a few hours to render after the editing, so let's not do that. Okay, good enough. Alright, scene capture. There you go. Let's go ahead and clear it and select it again. And now we have a thumbnail for our Savannah. So let's create static texture, F2, thumbnail, Savannah. Ta-da! Oh, okay, that's cool. Deleting the scene capture fixed it. I can now move the camera around. Wonderful. Now, as for you need a list of cars that you can browse through in the widget. And the way I like to do that, and there's many ways to do that, but the one I choose to do, because it's how can I say this? Usually when I do a player inventory, I want to be able to save it, and I want to be able to expand it later on, and have some cars that you have to unlock or buy them in the game. And the way to allow all of that would be to create a blueprint. Derived from class. I believe it is primary data asset right here. Select it, name it vehicles underscore PDA for primary data asset. Open it, and in there you can add variables such as thumbnail, which variable type here is going to be texture 2D. Texture 2D here, object reference. And if you compile and save it, and look for our thumbnails, another one would be obviously the vehicle class. And this one will be pawn spawn class reference, that's very important, the exact same type as the variable we've set into the game instance. And lastly, how about a string with the vehicle name? Just to display onto the play button. And that will be a string. There you go. Now, what you want to do next is you want to create a data asset for every vehicle, which will be derived from that primary data asset that we've just created. So navigate here to miscellaneous, find your data asset, search for PD8 and vehicles PD8, and we'll call this one vehicle singular underscore DA for data asset. And now, as you can see, you can select a thumbnail, a class, and a name. And so you're going to want to duplicate that and have one for each vehicle. So let's go ahead and duplicate it to, we'll call that one Porsche 911 underscore DA, and we'll select it and the thumbnail and put them here in the vehicle folder for the Porsche 911 GT3. There you go. Now again, vehicle data asset, we'll duplicate it. For the Nissan, select the thumbnail as well, put that here into the Nissan Skyline R34, and we'll duplicate it one last time here for the Savannah. Mazda Savannah, there you go. Oh no, I haven't actually made I haven't made the Savannah drivable yet. It's just a static mesh, well, skeletal mesh. Oh well, it'll still do its thing, I guess, for the menu. I should have checked that prior. Oh well. Now let's, I could have done the Supra, for example. Oh well, what can you do? So now open those data assets, make sure you select the right thumbnails, the right class. I'm actually going to select the Supra class for that one, just so we can actually use it. Then we'll do the same for the one in the Porsche. I believe I've already, yep. And then the one here with the Nissan. Okay, so now to recap, because this is quite complex, we have created a primary data asset which contains a bunch of variables that we can then set in the data asset. And then we have created a data asset derived from that to have just an asset basically with a list of variables that you can set, so that we can have one for each vehicles. Now in the main menu, you know what? Let's cheat a little bit for simplicity's sake, because this video is gonna get pretty long otherwise. Let's put a button with an image. Let's make sure the image here is set to take up the entire button. Set all the paddings to 0. Set the button to be size to content. Set the image size to, that was 19. That's a bit big. That's too small. I'm making a mess out of this. Okay, that's more like it. Oh, forgot here a padding. Now the button also, I think, has padding in it in the style department. There you go. Let's actually leave a little border all around it. Let's center our button. Oh, see, when you click the button now, you're actually clicking the image. So you have to be careful here to go into the list and select the actual button. And again, we'll create an event on clicked. And what happens when you click the button is you, same as you did in the game mode, you will get game instance. You will cast it to the game instance class that we've created earlier, which was BP Vehicle GI. And you will set selected vehicle class to the Nissan Skyline R34. Oops, I am not in the main menu map. Okay, now if I don't click it, by default the game instance is set to spawn me in the Supra, as you can see now. If I do click it, now I'm spawning in the Nissan because of this little bit of code here. And now you can add buttons for every single car, or you can make it the right way, which is to create an array and a scroll box and use the data assets that we've just made. And I'll do that right now. So this is going to be a pretty long video, if it's not already pretty long. So let's go ahead here, create an array, add variable, cars, let's select our vehicle player data asset, and let's make it an array. By variable type here, you can click and make that an array. Now in the default values, we will add an entry for every vehicle we want to be able to display onto the menu. So we got the Savannah, we got the Porsche, and the Nissan. Then here on event construct, we're going to grab that array and have a for each loop. And for each one, we will create a button, which we'll add to a scroll box, or actually, let's find something more of a grid pattern, maybe. Yeah, uniform grid panel. How about that? We'll center it, I guess. You know what? This is the wrong way to do it. Different people will have different aspect ratio, different resolutions. What I really should be doing is for it to take the whole screen and then just have offsets. Now this one here also needs to be a variable. I guess the name's fine for now. Let's grab that button here. Sorry, the button 1. Let's just move it out. Let's move it out of the screen so it's not in the way anymore, where we can keep it for reference. Because now we need to spawn buttons dynamically at runtime for every single car. And you know, that button has an image in it, probably a bit of text for the name of the car and whatnot. So that button should be its own widget. So you can customize it and change the appearance of every button that is spawned by the menu. Let's go ahead and do that again. Go into the UI folder, user interface, widget blueprint, user widget. Let's call it UMG vehicle button. Again, add a canvas panel. Set the size here to, I never quite know if it's custom or desired, so I guess we're just gonna have to figure it out. Custom, there you go. That image here is 384 by 216. And I have, I believe it is 5 of margin all around it. Yep. So 10 additional pixels in both directions. And we'll just copy and paste our button. There you go. Now go into the graph for that button. I believe on the event construct, or even pre-construct, no, preconstruct is executed even in the editor. I'm not going to use preconstruct. Set brush from texture. And see, this is asking for a texture to the object reference, which is the variable type we've set for the thumbnail in the data asset for the cars. This is why I've selected this specific type of variable in the data asset. And we will promote this to a variable, which we're going to call thumbnail. We will expose it on spawn and make it instance editable. And then lastly, for that button, we are gonna grab this here, delete it, or cut it, and then paste it here. Click our button in the variable list, and create the onClicked event. Now, as for the class here, we also need to promote the variable. Selected vehicle class is fine. And we will again make it instance editable and expose it on spawn. Good. Let's go back here into, we can actually, I'm pretty sure we can close that. Now that button doesn't need to have a clicked event anymore, and we're going to delete it. There you go. Actually, I just want to kind of check the behavior of that grid panel. Right, so it's not sorting them automatically. Let's try something different. Now that's a uniform grid. How about just a grid? Yes, good, okay. That is going to sort them automatically. I'm actually pretty happy I checked that, because I would have been scratching my head trying to figure out why I only have one button, because they're all spawning on top of each other. So, okay, yeah, remove the uniform grid panel and replace it with the grid panel. Again, anchor it to take the whole canvas. There you go. Can we add padding dynamically to each button after we spawn them? I think so. Again, grid panel 0 here. Make sure it's a variable because we changed it. You want it to be a variable so you can access it from the graph to add children's to it, which are going to be the buttons we're going to create for each entry here in the car array. Okay, now back to the event construct. So for each car here in the car array, which is our 3 data asset here, for each of them we are going to create a blueprint, a widget. Sorry about that. Don't drag it off of here. Create widget. Select class here, that would be UMG vehicle button. And now see, because we've set variables that are exposed on spawn, we have these two variables here that we can set. Now from our data here, we can grab the thumbnail and the class. Get vehicle class. And now what we need to do is to add that newly created widget to our grid panel. Now add child and add child to grid. Which one to choose? I'll choose add child to grid. In row and column. Nope. How about just a simple add child? Okay. Plug that in here. And for the content, which is the child we want to add, we'll plug in our button widget that we just created. Now if we play, we only have one button. Okay, debugging 101. Let's add a print string. And we have 3 times hello. That means we are spawning 3 buttons on top of each other, like I was scared of. And we're seeing the Nissan, I'm assuming, because the Nissan is the one we spawned last. I really don't want to have to calculate these to populate the grid manually. Let me do a quick Google search. Alright, you know what? For the time being, we'll use that one here, and the index is going to be in column, because I did not research this prior to recording the video, and I have no idea how to use a grid panel. And so you can see now that we have 3 buttons. Now if I click that one, I'm spawning in the Supra. If I click the Porsche, I spawn in the Porsche. And if I click the Nissan, I spawn in the Nissan. Now how about we make it a little prettier? There. Now as you add things to it, it'll expand itself and always be centered on the screen. And yeah, let's just for a nice finishing touch here, let's make sure we can't actually click here and spawn in the map if we haven't selected a car first. Okay, let's go back here into our vehicle button. Let's add a variable. Main menu UMG. UMG main menu object reference. Get button play and set enabled. Oh. Set is enabled to true. And how about we also set the text? Sorry, get text block play button, which is the one earlier I told you to make it a variable so that you could affect it in the event graph. Now let's set the text here. Let's have an append. And we'll need another variable here. So drag off of that, promote to variable. Name should be vehicle name. It should be again instance editable and exposed on spawn. Also, the main menu UMG variable we've created is empty. It's not pointing to anything. So we need to make it instance editable and expose on spawn as well. Now right click, create widget and refresh it to see the two new variables we've created. Grab here the get vehicle name variable that we've put in there. There you go. And for the main menu UMG, we will create a reference to self, because we're creating that button from the UMG main menu. And you know what? Let's make that button here disabled by default. That would be behavior there. Okay, behavior is enabled. Untick that. Now if we play, you can see the button here is grayed out and it says select the vehicle to spawn with. And as soon as you click one, it is not grayed out anymore and it says spawn with Porsche 911, spawn with Nissan Skyline, or the Supra. And this is it. That was probably a pretty long video. I did not check what time it was when I started recording. Very sorry about that. But yeah, it had to be done. People wanted to see how to make a car selection menu, and I like to do things properly in a way that you can expand from the system that I'm showing you how to create. I could have just showed you how to put buttons on the screen, and then you would have had to add a button for each car, and then eventually you would have had a lot of them, and now the layout would have been a problem. You know, you're gonna want to put them in a scroll box, and yeah, so I like to just do things the right way from the start. Now, this project here is going to be uploaded onto my Patreon, so those of you who are subscribed to it can just download the project and reverse engineer what I just did here, or you know, use the project as a starter template for their own project. And if you're not subscribed to it, well, check the video description. There's a link to my Patreon page, as well as the Discord server that you can join if you have any questions. And before I forget about it, actually, let's go into here, project settings, maps and modes, and game default map here should be your menu map, so that when you package the game, player opens the game, he goes into the menu map, you know. Yeah. And I believe this is it. Now basically you can create thumbnails for every car in your project. You can create a data asset for every car by just duplicating the one you've got and changing the infos in there. And then you can go here into the main menu widget, go into the cars array, and just add entries for every new car you want to add to the menu. And then that grid panel will expand to make room for all the cars you put in there. I will check how to actually automatically lay the buttons out, because that right there is a bit of a hack. Next video I'll be improving that menu, so stay tuned for that. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.